Hi everyone, it's Kathy
and Mark
from Ohio School Board Association, and we're going to talk today about the Mental Health and Social-Emotional Learning Summit that we had February 25th at the Convention Center. Mark, we had close to 1,300 people attend this event. And here's what's interesting. It was such a diverse group of attendees. We had administrators and board members and teachers and superintendents and counselors and social workers. And to me, that really speaks to how important it is for the number of adults to come together in all different types of roles to support our students.
Yes, it's awesome, when we sent the word out, it was amazing. Initially, we were hearing back from our board members and things of that nature, but it began to spread to everyone that's actually in the school buildings. I like to say those that are on the front lines doing the work with these children. And so it was a very powerful day. A lot of people were impacted, and it's exciting. And we're still seeing the residual effects of that summit even now. So we're very excited.
Yes, and a big shout out to the organizations that we partnered with because they got their word out to their members. I think that's why we had such a diverse attendees there. So we're excited. We're going to talk about what we're going to do on this show today.
Right. So I want to highlight that that day we had over 23 sessions that were made available to attendees, and they varied subjects, and as we promised on the website there, each of those sessions are available for you at this time. But also we had a day where we also had a resource fair where there were about 40 agencies and organizations that were there offering tangible resources to attendees that they could actually take back to their building, to their community, to put into implementation immediately. So excited about what we actually had there that day. And today we wanted to take a moment to highlight the speakers that were at the summit. As I said, we had a myriad of speakers there, all the way from the Miami University, Ohio State University, even to Joe Hendershot was there, Hope for the Wounded. Varied speakers that were talking about perspectives from social-emotional learning and mental health. We also want to highlight the attendees that were there. Listen, the day was only made because of the people that attended.
Absolutely.
And we want you to hear what they had to say about the summit and the feedback that they provided while we were live there. And also we want to highlight, we were ecstatic and honored to have Governor DeWine with us. He gave some opening remarks at our opening session, and even I had the opportunity to sit down with him and ask about a few things regarding mental health and social-emotional learning. So we'll highlight that session as well. Our closing session was with Dr. Thomas Maridata, who is a former Children's Defense Fund director, and he gave us a closing session talking about the power of vision. Had an opportunity to sit down with him and actually expand on that topic together. So I think we're excited to show some highlights.
Absolutely. So stay with us as we review and take a look back at a really, really great day. So we had an opportunity, Mark. We had talked about we had over 1,200 people attend this event. And so what we did is we had an opportunity to speak to some of our attendees. And what was interesting was how so many of them had different reasons of why they were there, and why they felt it was important to attend this event, but also what their takeaways were from the different sessions. So let's listen to what our attendees have to say.
I'm hoping that we are able to get some key takeaways to take back to our students and help support them in a more robust manner. We have kind of come together as a team and decided on which sessions we're going to, so that way we can take that information, use it in our roles, but also share it with our staff and our students.
What session did you just get out?
I just came from the mentoring. It was a program for Westerville. They do it with this modeling. It's called, actually Model is what the program is called. It's a whole big program that they're doing to try to help build the girls, all types, high end, middle, low end. They call them the Invisibles. The ones that kind of fly under the radar.
I attended a session that Pickerington Local Schools just put on about smart labs and biofeedback.
Perfect. And what's one thing you can share with our audience that we took away from that experience?
That program has evidence-based sort of practices in place that have shown good results for kids about reducing stress, executive functioning issues, and behavioral referrals in the classroom.
Well, I think if you're in public education, you certainly have seen the increase in the types of challenges students are coming to us with. I think our family dynamics are changing. The challenges that our families are facing in society are more intense maybe than they used to be, and unfortunately our resources aren't as plentiful as we need them to be. So anything that we can do to come together and support each other in the work to help support our students, that's why I'm here.
So we were really liking that there's a social emotional side and a mental health side. We're going to split up and kind of look at all the different sessions and share and take back some with us.
You know, as I was walking through the convention center on my way here this morning and became part of this huge crowd that's convening on this mental health and social emotional summit, I thought to myself, how wonderful for the future of public education and for these children who need us. This place is full of the people who have not given up.
So Kathy, as I mentioned before, we were excited to have Governor DeWine with us at our Mental Health and Social Emotional Learning Summit. He gave opening remarks at our opening session, but he also sat down with me, and we had a few minutes to talk about some of his thoughts behind the work around the wraparound services that he is supporting in our state. And we also were happy to have our closing session speaker as Dr. Thomas Meredata, who spoke about the power of vision. So I had the opportunity to sit down with him to kind of go deeper into that and how that can be impactful to teachers and students as well. So let's hear what they have to say. And today we're just honored to have Governor Mike DeWine with us here today.
Mark, good to see you.
Always
Thank
good
you
to
very
see
much.
You, sir.
Looks like a great conference.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for your remarks this morning at our opening session. Really appreciate it. And as we've highlighted today, you have supported children in a very specific way around student wellness and wraparound supports, committing $675 million in support of our children. Why is that so important to you?
You know, I've heard from teachers, including my son Mark, who's a teacher, about the importance of dealing with some of the kids' challenges that they face that exist outside the classroom, outside the school. You know, Mary comes to school and she hadn't had any breakfast. Johnny comes to school and the dad is an addict at home. He's got to deal with that. So how do we try to compensate for that? And so we created this fund we call the Wellness Fund, $675 million that the legislature put in that fund and sent it back to the schools. And the schools have a lot of flexibility what they can do with it, but they can do things like setting up a mentoring program. They can, some schools are actually establishing a real clinic in that school, and others are hiring someone who's really a mental health specialist. So all kinds of options of what to do, but it's trying to, we call it kind of wraparound services, but it's trying to help that school help that child. And I suppose in a perfect world, you know, but we don't live in a perfect world. And if it was a perfect world, you wouldn't have to do those things. But, you know, we got a lot of great teachers, and we want to help school help these kids get ready so that when they come to class, they can really learn.
I noticed in your remarks this morning you were talking about the optimism that you have for Ohio's education. Speak more to that, what you see in our future.
Well, I'm optimistic about Ohio. I think the spotlight's coming back to the so-called heartland, the Midwest. Quality of life is great here. You know, no better place to raise a family, I can think, than Ohio. But our future really is dependent upon how well we all collectively do, and it's all our job, to educate our kids, and how well we do to prepare them so that they can live up to whatever their potential is, and so they can dream big, and whatever their dream is, so we can try to help them fulfill that. And so the social emotional learning that we talk about, K through 12, something every single year, so that these kids are better armed, so they don't go down the pathway of addiction. You know, that's very, very important as well. Sometimes I think people think that you know, when we talk about drug education, they think, well, we're just teaching kids all about drugs. But it's really not that. What I've learned over the years in working with educators and teachers is that social emotional learning, preparing that child to make good decisions, self-worth, respect for themselves, all of these things are just so very important, and that's really what prepares that child to be able to avoid, frankly, becoming addicted to a drug later on.
If you could share, Governor, a message that you might have for all of us that are serving education, what would you say to us if you had the opportunity to get us all into one room? What would you say
my
to
message to Ohio teachers would be thank you. You know, each one of us can think back on our lives and think of a teacher that changed our life. You know, I can come up with several. And all the other teachers who just, you know, took care of us and let us continue to grow. So I think holding up educators and teachers is something that is so very, very important. teachers just make a difference every single day, and God bless them.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you again, Governor DeWine, for your continued commitment to Ohio's children, and we just appreciate the support that you give to us. Thank you again.
Thanks for doing the conference. It's
Yes,
great.
sir. As you know, today's summit has been all around mental health and social emotional learning. I'd like you to just kind of tell me why these things are important, specifically knowing that you previously served as a principal and teacher. Why is mental health and social emotional learning so important for our students?
Well, interestingly enough, I think that most people know also, even preceding that Marva Collins was had a tremendous impact on me as a mentor. And one of the things that she believed in is that you have to set an environment where all children can flourish, and that the teacher has to plug into children. And you have to really understand what their needs are. You have to be able to understand inquiry, but you also have to understand how they feel and the depth of pain that they bring to the experience. And you have to be able to assuage their fears when they come into a classroom space. So, for example, one of the things that I learned from her is to really change the narrative of all of my students. And so I was constantly in the process of renaming them where the system had deemed them a failure, but I renamed them genius. And the system had deemed them not worthy, and I deemed them worthy in terms of being a champion that's worthy to be wrestled with. And so giving kids those tools and skills so that they could flourish is the job of an accomplished teacher. And I can give you an example in one of my classes. I had a student that had struggled academically for a number of years prior to him coming to my class. And on his first test, he got a 55. And so at the top of his test, I said, "You are a genius in the making." And so he went home and he shared with his father. He said, "Oh, look, I just want you to see this test." And his father said, "Son, you do know that you failed this test." Yeah, he said, "Oh no," but he said, "But Mr. Miradata told me I'm a genius in the making." And he told me that I was in good company. He told me because Einstein was a genius in the making as well. And he told me that Michael Jordan had become a genius, but he had once been a genius in the making. And so he said, "It just means that I'm going to do better, on the next test that I have." So the next test, he got a 65. And then the test after that, he got a 78. And the test after that, he got a 90. But it's teaching young people that they can do it, that we have high expectations for them, but also that we're not going to let them fail. And we're going to give them the skill set that's requisite for them to go out and change the world, and that we believe in them. And that no matter what vicissitude they faced in life, we're going to create a space so that they could be safe and so that they can flourish.
So Dr. Miradata, let me ask you and push a little bit. So we're in end of February, basically March, and I'm that teacher who's 8 months in, and the space is what it is. And you talked about trying to create a culture that's safe and of learning for a child. But what do I do now? Because I'm in the throes of it. I'm trying to make the best. I've experienced some victories, but I've also got still a lot more challenges. What do you say to that teacher that's still trying to make inroads even at this hour?
Dig deeper. Yeah, because every single student that's in your classroom, they're worthy and they're worth the effort. And I've told you the story, Mark, about Mrs. Poe, and I'll probably tell the story today about Mrs. Poe. But, with Mrs. Poe, she saw in a student the potential that they had to become great. And she saw that all of the behaviors that they were sharing with the rest of the class and with her was not who they really were as a human being. And and just to tell the story briefly, the young man, he comes in, He's using all type of expletives, but she pauses and she wants to find out what's behind this bad behavior. He is not the behavior that I am seeing. And she says to him, has anyone told you how beautiful you are? Has anyone told you how magnificent you are? Has anyone ever told you that you can move mountains? Has anyone ever told you all of the folks that have gotten you here as a part of your legacy? And you know, he said, you're not none of my teacher. And she marches him down the flight of stairs and comes back up and she says, well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be the one that's going to pour into you and that's going to resuscitate you so that you will be able to go out and change the world. And so to our teachers, we have to really understand that our job is not just content and not just the impartation of content, but it is also nurturing the soul so that people are in the position so that they will be able to receive the fermented seed of learning. And so it's very important, I think, for all of our teachers to really understand that this is the magic of teaching. This is the grace of teaching, that you get an opportunity to transform a learner, and you cannot transform a learner when they don't believe that they can do it, when they feel crushed by the outer society. And I know that there are people who say, oh, well, it's not my job. You know, I went to school to learn how to teach reading, or I went to school to learn how to teach math. But teaching is a moment of grace, and it is the time in which you are able to cut and stop the negative patterns of behavior that have caused students to die on the vine.
I just love the energy. I love that everyone came together with a focus on making sure that we are keeping our arms around the students in the state of Ohio and making sure that we are supporting them so that they can be successful. And the other thing that I walked away with is just that we need to also start focusing on the adults that are standing in front of our students. So that's one of the things that we are going to be working on in-house, is bringing some resources. Once again, you got to take care of this before you can take care of that. And so we're going to make sure that we find resources and get some information out, so we're making sure that everyone is being taken care of.
So family, we have reminders for you. Again, make sure you go to ohioschoolboards.org/mental health and social emotional summit. That is the place where you'll be able to get all the handouts from every breakout session and also the audio recordings of the breakout session. Go to that website, get all the information that is there. Secondly, as we promised, we have a repository of tools and resources. And again, we're building it up, but we've gotten it started. So go to leadingourlearners/overcoming-barriers/mental health issues. That'll be the toolkit place. That'll be the place that you'll get some tangible resources available to you to implement at whatever level that you serve.
Right. And remember to email studentwellness@ohioschoolboards.org. That is where we're going to be collecting information from you, getting ideas from you. We have some deliverables that we're working on, podcast interviews. We're actually going to follow a therapy dog through the training, which will be great to follow that. I've talked to a teenage band called Screamback, who actually goes into schools and puts on concerts and then stops in between sets to talk about kids, to talk to kids about mental health and some of the things that some of the band members had kind of struggled with. So lots of great information out there. Remember, our job is to make sure that we get it to you, but you have to make sure you get it to us. So thank you so much for joining us. We will make sure that we Twitter out and Instagram out and Facebook out our next great resource that we are making available.